when we're going through something that feels like fight or flight, that's going to feel more like that panic, more like that tension, more like that, oh, I need to do something. I can't handle this anymore. When we're going into fight or flight or shut down, there's a couple different ways to interrupt that process.
Welcome to Spotlight Sioux Falls, where culture meets commerce and the people behind our favorite places get the mic.
We're your hosts, Melissa Goodwin and Steve Schmidt, and we're sitting down with the makers, doers, and dreamers shaping the soul of our city.
From storefronts to side hustles, tattoos to tech startups, we are telling the stories that make Sioux Falls shine.
Because behind every business is a human story, and those stories, they're what make our community feel like home. This is Spotlight Sioux Falls.
All right, I am with Veronica Sherwood, someone who I've gotten to know pretty well over the last couple of months, and at Spotlight Sioux Falls, you get to know her today. And Veronica, we're in your office. You've had another day at the clinic. I was here for the grand opening, the ribbon cutting. That's when I first came in.
Yes.
You were very busy.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful facility here. We've toured it and seen some of the people, some of the amazing things you have here. Why don't you introduce yourself to Sioux Falls? I know it's you're not new to the scene, but everybody here and your mission is kind of renewed and under a new rooftop. So this is great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I'm the owner of Elevate Mind Psychiatry and Elevate Wellness Institute.
Yeah.
We are two businesses under one roof. We actually have a couple other businesses in the same building. We've got a massage therapist and 3 therapists and mental health therapists and a physical therapist.
Yeah.
So we kind of touch a little bit on all the spectrums of health here. Elevate Mind Psychiatry, we do diagnosing and medication management for mental health. Mm-hmm. Our youngest patient is 4.
Wow.
And we have, our oldest is in her 90s right now.
All ages.
So, yep, the whole spectrum. And then Elevate Wellness started out of a place of trauma. Mm-hmm. I have these patients that we definitely improve their life with the mental health treatment, but we're missing some things, and I would start to go down looking at answers for those things that we were missing. And so that's kind of where Elevate Wellness came from, was how do I improve these things that matter so much that aren't going to get touched by medication.
Let's talk about those things, because I think that was when I kind of left here the first time with a skip in my step. As someone who's dealt with, and we all deal with to a degree, you kind of personalize your experience and go, the things you said and the things you're integrating here under one rooftop are the things that I have kind of stumbled up in my own journey, right? And I think when you present that here to a community where I will say they have some great doctors and some great places, but there's a long wait for getting in if you're a new patient. And I want to talk about that. And there's also larger systems who do it, and maybe that doesn't feel as personal. It's a great care system with your primary doctor, but they can't get the physicality of whatever it is they're trying to treat and that you're trying to treat with them and diagnose and treat, and they can't get it all under one rooftop, including massage, right? Yeah. And so when you think about the full spectrum, why did you and the staff decide, the leadership staff, that you really wanted to integrate under one roof? Because a lot of businesses or owners would say, that sounds complicated, but it sounds integrated to me.
Right. We wanted to do that because think about your body and your brain connection, your body and your mind connection. Think about body and psych putting together. How many of us are working a very stressful job? Yeah. And we've got stress at home. Right. That stress comes out in the body in tension. It comes out in the body in illnesses. It comes out in so many different ways. Right. And so massage therapy is a very important part that none of us really want to sacrifice time for, right? Because that's self-care. And then the first thing that we sacrifice when we're stressed is our own self. Yeah. And so we've got a very, very good massage therapist here, and she thinks about massage in more of a medical way than a self-treat. It's not a treat. It's a necessity. And so it's just a very neat collaboration, because I can go and we can talk, and I can say, hey, I've got this person, not with any names or anything, but I've got this person that's experiencing some pain over here, and or some soreness over here, and what would our options be in treating this? And I can kind of bounce those ideas off and collaborate in a way that wasn't possible before. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask a question a lot of people are thinking if they're thinking about people they know in the last 10 years. We've heard the term ADHD a lot, attention deficit. You are very well degreed and studied and certified in that field here.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of patients of all ages. Curiosity, what do you think in the last 10 years has changed, and why are you seeing more and more patients? Is it the awareness that it could be what they're struggling with, or do you think it's something that's happening externally in the world and we're reacting to it? Can you walk me through that?
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
ADHD is still a very taboo topic in some areas. We get told constantly, oh, it's being overdiagnosed, it's being overtreated.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know that it's being overdiagnosed. I mean, there's definitely situations where it probably is being overdiagnosed or overblamed or overtreated. We look at it in a very unique way.
Yeah.
And that is because we have dealt with it in a very, very intimate way here. So many of our providers deal with ADHD either themselves or at home.
Yeah.
And when you start being able to say ADHD is not just an attention deficit, it's not just hyperactivity. What does ADHD and how does ADHD like bleed into every moment in our life? Whether it's having difficulty going and taking a shower, whether it's delaying sending a text message that you know is only going to take 2 seconds to send, but why does it feel so hard?
Yeah.
Why can I not do one task without getting lost in 18 others, and then I've wasted 5 hours doing something and I never finished anything?
Yeah. One that surprised me is shifting between modalities.
Yeah.
Is part of that, as well. And I thought, okay, I can identify with that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us can, but I mean, the real diagnosis, when you see somebody, the nice part is, I think they're going to come in here and feel when they look around, like they can tell that you've studied this. And I think when you address it, it is not from a medication only standpoint.
Right.
That's certainly one treatment. There's, stimulants and all these other drugs. There's no drugs in treatment. And that's where I think in particular, I wanted to ask the question around ADHD. How do you see movement, call it physicality, working out, help that particular, because the anxiety, it helps immensely. Depression helps immensely. With ADHD, I would think it has to be a huge benefit. How does it help people?
Yeah. It's that neuromuscular connection.
Okay.
So movement in general, whether we are walking, whether we are getting up and just moving, whether we're doing jumping jacks in our office, whether we're using a vibration plate, it's that neuromuscular connection. And that is part of why we brought in some of the extra things that we did on the Elevate Wellness side. But you think about your kids that don't get recess anymore. They go from elementary school to middle school, and all of a sudden there's no recess, and they only have PE maybe 2 to 3 days a week. And they are expected to sit still for 8 hours a day and be well behaved doing that when their bodies need to move.
Yeah.
And yes, medications are extremely important, and they may not be someone's first choice for treatment. But then what do we do to help that kiddo be successful in school?
Right.
If meds are not the right option, what other ways can we bring in to help that kiddo feel like they're achieving and not failing? Or why is this so hard for me? What's wrong with me? We don't want kids to go down, or adults to go down that thought process.
Yeah.
So
another tough question. I'm trying to speak for the people here. If you have kids, and let's say they're taking medication, kids don't always want to take medication.
Right.
How do you work with parents and kids who may be reluctant to take the medication? Because it's not fun for a 5th or a 7th grader to think, what is this thing? It's like another vitamin. They don't quite understand the whole thing, the whole chemistry of it. How do you work with those people?
We do a lot of education with our patients. And so we don't want to talk them into doing something that they're uncomfortable with, but we want them to be able to make an educated decision, right? A lot of times we make decisions based off of what we've seen on TikTok. We make decisions on what we've seen.
Guilty.
What is being filtered in through all of our information, modules. But we want them to be able to make that decision with as much education as possible. And so we do spend a lot of time talking to both the parents and the kid, and we break it down on their level. So a 5-year-old isn't going to necessarily understand what the med's doing in a scientific way.
Right.
But if we break it down and we allow them to ask questions, and we allow them to know that it's their body, and if they don't like something, that we're going to do our best to figure out how to make it better, right?
Yeah.
If
that
a
feeling
med,
of agency is important.
yeah, if a med helps you focus better and you're doing better in school and you're not getting in trouble as much, but it gives you really bad stomach aches, that's not a fair trade. Right. And so we do a lot of work to help them understand why we're taking the med. That just because you are taking a med doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. And we also try to work with both the parents and the kids on, or adults that are taking meds, or college students or teenagers, that we're not going to be perfect every day. You know,
imagine that.
I am a provider and I still forget to call my refills in, in time. Sometimes
that's refreshing to know.
Yeah. Sometimes I call them in the day I ran out, or 4 days after I ran out. But we're all gonna kind of stumble a little bit. And how do we deal with that stumble, right? How do we be accepting of that stumble? And you don't have to take your meds every day,
right?
And so how do we work with that? And how do we teach, how do we get each day to be its own day?
One day at a time.
So if we've got a kid or a college student that's got classes Monday through Friday, 8 to 3, but then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they have a night class, or they've got soccer, or they've got gymnastics, or they have to focus, how do we treat those 2 days differently? If Saturday and Sunday, they really only need to be doing something that requires that attention and focus, maybe homework for 3 hours on a Saturday, or charting, or grocery shopping, maybe they don't want to take their 12-hour med. Maybe we need to do something that's a little bit shorter for those days.
Right.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not a one-size-fits every single day. We want to make sure that we're making that treatment, or we're getting that treatment to what you need as an individual, and not what that textbook over there says.
Oh, that was the most refreshing thing. So when I called in and we first talked, it was almost weird to hear. And so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I'm going to quote you probably as close to my memory as possible. It's, we look for your feedback, and we want to know how you feel in terms of how you're getting the dosage correct. Because if we just say, take this, and that's the rule book, that hasn't worked for me in the past, and it's caused, personally, it's caused some issues. And I can't imagine that can't be for everybody, maybe who's like, this is too much, this is not enough, but I got to do what the doctor says, and they're dealing with all these side effects. What made you come to that conclusion? Meaning anybody could say that. And it's not like you're just telling people to take whatever they want to, but it sounds like you're really getting good feedback before you make a decision. And that is done in a way that's both in person and ongoing over, obviously, like a messaging portal, which I can say is my favorite way to talk to you as my doctor. How is that continuous conversation when you're first working with a patient? How long might they have to wait to get used to a drug? Because I think a lot of people say, well, how long is this going to take? Like, my side effects are this, and I don't know. It says 3 weeks on the internet. How long should we all expect? Is it read the bottle? Is it pay attention to your body? Is it chat with you?
I talk to all of my patients about that in that first appointment and every appointment thereafter. Anytime that we make a change, we talk about, okay, this is how this med works. This is what you may see. This is what you may not see. You may not see a darn tootin' thing with this small dose, because we want to introduce it at a smaller dose first. We don't want to have someone get scared with that very first trial, right? And so we start low and slow for some people. Other people are going to be coming in, and this is maybe their 4th med that they've tried. So that's going to be a totally different situation. Your DNA is not my DNA.
That's right.
Your metabolism is not my metabolism. And so I may be able to take, say, a Benadryl, and I may be able to function just fine. You maybe will take a Benadryl, and you'll have the best 8 hours of your sleep of your nap of your life. And it could be the same dose. I could have a football player in here that is 350 pounds of pure muscle, and he could take 1 milligram of a med, and he's got a really nice 6-hour nap, where I have a 5-year-old that may take that same dose, and it calms him down, and he goes to school and he's happy. And what's the explanation for that? There's not. So we don't, we have to know what's in our textbooks. We have to know how our meds work. We have to know the dosages and all that stuff. But what is going to be best for the person sitting in front of me? I don't really care what was best for the last 15 patients. I want what's best for you.
And I can feel that. And that's genuine. And I think that nothing against another doctor, but like great doctors. In my own medical journey, that's the only one I would speak about. To me, it felt like you wanted to listen, and that was unique to me. because you didn't just tell me what I wanted to hear. You just kind of said, what do you want to do next? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you're supposed to tell me what to do.
Right.
And I felt a little more control of my own journey and responsibility, if
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Because if I can choose to tell you something, I have to be honest. I have to be all the right things and not kind of guess and say, I think this was it.
Right.
And that honesty, how important, a couple more questions for me, just two before I hand it over to Melissa. How important is honesty? And I know the answer in real life,
Yeah.
but I have to think it's critical
It's
in your relationship with patients.
It's very important, and I talk to my patients about that too. If we try a med and you absolutely hate it, day 2, you're like, I don't like this med, it makes me feel gross. A lot of times we'll have a patient that will stop the med on their, they'll make that choice, stop their med, and then 4 weeks go by, and they say, oh yeah, I stopped that med 28 days ago. Well, now I've just lost 28 days in your journey.
Right.
It's gone. I can't go back and I can't fix that.
Yeah.
But if somebody were to send me a message and say, hey, Veronica, this med sucks.
Mm-hmm.
This med gives me headaches. This med makes me, I can say, okay, well, that's normal. Give it 3 to 4 days or whatever, whatever that med is.
That's right.
Or I can say, yeah, that's not acceptable. We're not going to deal with that. Go ahead and stop it. And maybe let's move on to this. And there's a lot of give and take. I always tell people it's kind of like either like a great big onion. You're going to come to me with that ugliest onion you found at Walmart, and we're going to start with that biggest layer. And once we get that done, that doesn't mean that we're done in your recovery. It doesn't mean we're done with your journey. Yeah. We're going to look at all those other layers that are going to pop up.
Oh, fun. That sounds great.
Right. Or it's like playing a game of pool, except for every single decision we make, we're taking all those balls and putting it back in the triangle, and we're starting over.
Oh,
and
I like
so,
that analogy.
yeah. And so I think a lot of people are really afraid to disappoint their provider. And that's something we talk to a lot of patients about too. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you tell me what we decided to do wasn't the best idea. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't agree with my choices. But let's talk about that and let's work through it instead of you feeling like you're being dictated to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Veronica, I'm excited to talk to you about access. So we know mental health is a big issue, especially for teens and young adults. And whatever the causes of that are, we can leave that up to debate.
Yeah.
But in terms of access, it can be really hard to, I know, and I'm not trying to be disparaging, but it can be hard to get into a provider these days. Can you talk about the access at your clinic?
Yeah, most definitely. We have 4 providers here in this clinic, and we have one that is down in Yankton. We have spots available for new patients, normally within a week.
Within a week?
Within a week.
Okay.
Yep. And
that's a big deal.
It is. I just saw an intake today, and she told me, it was easier for me to get into you than it was for me to start with a new PCP, which says something.
Yeah.
And I know that the field is very, we don't have enough. We don't have enough providers. But we try to maintain that access. We want to be able to be available. If somebody wants to see someone specific, if we have someone that wants to say, come in and see Taylor, they only want to see Taylor because that's who their best friend's seeing or their family member is seeing, that's who they got the referral from. If she maybe is on vacation, it might be 2 weeks. But if you're open to seeing whoever's available, we're going to get you in as quick as possible.
So why is it, I mean, obviously there is a need for more providers, but even after very serious incidents, it seems like people can't get in for months. Yeah. So what is causing that, do you think? It's just that they don't realize that places like yours are available?
Yeah, most likely.
Okay.
I mean, when you go think about seeing the doctor, there's 2 big names that pop into your brain in Sioux Falls right away. And that's the way it is in every community. There's that big named company. And there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times we have horse blinders on and we don't look for the people that are independent. And because they're further down on that search list, right? They're not as well known. Sometimes it's about the fact that they're in little communities and they can't drive to Sioux Falls to see someone every couple of weeks. And that's where telehealth comes into play.
And you guys do telehealth as well? Okay.
We are able to see patients in South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Washington.
Oh, wow.
So we've actually got a lot of flexibility in being able to see patients with a pretty wide span. But even if you think about just South Dakota, we've got a lot of communities that are hour and a half away, and they are out there all by themselves. They maybe have a PCP, primary care provider office there, and that's it. And So they might be getting their antidepressant med or their anxiety med or their sleep med from their PCP. A lot of times primary care providers, they don't want to maybe expand or get into the meds where there are a lot of repeat check-ins because they've got a full schedule. They're treating broken arms and infections and all sorts of things. And so I think that's where telehealth really comes into play. It allows us to treat people that don't have the option of coming to Sioux Falls all the time. And, some meds require the in-person appointments. And so we work around, people's schedules to try to figure out how we can get that in-person done if we need to.
So what about the naysayers that may say like, well, I need to see a psychiatrist. I need to see this certain level of provider. How do you address that? I mean, it sounds like you have more touch points, and so I'd love to learn more about that.
I don't really try to argue with people. If somebody feels like they need to see a psychiatrist or they need to see a doctor, go for it.
Sure.
A lot of the times what you're going to...
But you're going to wait like 6 months.
You're going to wait 6 to 9 months. You may see that doctor so-and-so the first time, and then you may see residents. That's super important too for those residents to get that experience. But when mental health is involved, a lot of times you're having to repeat that story over and over and over. And a lot of people don't want to have to do that. They want to go to somebody that knows their story, that knows you as a human being, knows hey, your kid had their concert last week. How did that go? You went on vacation 6 months ago. I haven't seen you since then. How'd your vacation go? Those conversations, because those conversations are important in your mental health recovery and your mental health journey as well too. But you are always going to have people that feel like they need to see a doctor versus a nurse practitioner. I think that's getting better.
Yeah.
I think that view is getting better. Nurse practitioners tend to be more holistic, meaning they look at you as a whole person instead of an acute issue, acute like a wound or a infection or, the problem. We tend to look at people as a whole. We want to know about your life and your kids and your dogs and, all the fun stuff. And so we tend to be able to get in a little bit deeper on that mental health journey because we're asking those questions. We're having those conversations. It's not just about how's your depression, how's your anxiety, how's your sleep. We want to know everything else too.
So tell me about your medical training on the prescription side, and you are able to prescribe pretty much anything that a psychiatrist would.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do anything that a psychiatrist would do. We can do addiction. We can do ADHD. We can do the controlled substances. There's not really anything that we can't prescribe. When it gets into medical meds, that's where we kind of tend to start separating. We try to stay in that mental health field. We don't want to get into prescribing diabetic medications or blood pressure meds or anything like that.
You would look at the interactions that they might have with your mental health.
And if needed, we will collaborate with their primary care provider and say, hey, this is what we would like to do, but maybe this interferes with this. Is there any wiggle room? Can you help us get to, so we will collaborate if needed. It's not that we won't collaborate. But yeah, we try to look at all that stuff too.
Yeah, so. That's great to know. And like you said, I think having the ability, and again, either way, everyone can make their own choices for what's best for them.
Yes.
But when you look at, should I wait 6 months to even get in? And then I've had someone very close to me say, I just don't want to have to repeat my story again. Yeah. And again, I've already repeated it to 5 different providers, and now I have to start all over at the beginning, right?
Right.
Which can be really onerous. So if you can see someone more regularly and they have a better holistic view of how you're doing versus that 15-minute, I don't even know how much time they have, 7 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, every 6 months, maybe a new alternative for people that they don't realize is available. So how might I know, because we're all stressed, it's a very stressful world, we're all glued to our devices and less in touch with nature and all the things that we should be. How do I know if I'm just having a crummy week versus I might be in trouble? What are some signals that maybe I should check into, just have a touch point to see how I'm doing?
Well, when you have a crummy week,
it
gets better in a couple of days, right? Mm-hmm. We all have crummy weeks.
Or months, right? Sometimes.
We all have stressful situations. We all have times when we're not going to sleep as well, or we're fighting a cold, or our kids are going through something. those are situational things. Those things get better, and then in between those things, we function good. We're doing great. We're doing fine. We're not having that dysfunction of the stress that happened during these situational things.
Okay.
When we need to start thinking about our mental health is when we're sitting there and in the quiet you go, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Everything is going really well. I don't know why I don't want to participate because I should be wanting to participate. I don't know why I'm not getting enjoyment when other people are laughing around me and I feel numb.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might be a signal that you should maybe check in with the provider, give you guys a call. What are some things that we can do on a regular basis to some healthy decompression ideas for those of us, like I said, we're all stressed.
Right.
And before we get to that point where maybe we feel sad and whatever, what are some things we can do to help ourselves stay on the up and up?
Yeah. So everybody knows the term fight or flight, right?
Yep.
Like that term is pretty common. People know what it means. A lot of people don't recognize that is one side of your teeter-totter, right? Like that's one side, the other side is shut down. Okay, so when we're going through something that feels like fight or flight, that's gonna feel more like that panic, more like that tension, more like that, oh, I need to do something, I can't handle this anymore. When we're going into fight or flight or shut down, there's a couple different ways to interrupt that process.
Okay.
Fight or flight, you wanna think cold.
You want to think
so
cold?
You want to think cold.
Okay,
so
what does that mean?
Go into a closet, go into the bathroom at work.
Okay.
Shut the lights off. It's normally colder in the bathrooms. Shut the lights off, stand up against the wall, put your favorite song on. I've got 4 songs and I've got a touch point on my phone. They go directly to the YouTube video of those songs.
Okay.
Put your earbuds in. Nobody's going to question you if you're in the bathroom for 2.5 minutes, right?
I mean, yeah. Sure.
So go in there, listen to your favorite song in the cold temperature.
Okay.
Maybe get one of those towels and put some, cold water on it. Put it in the back of your neck or on your forehead, on your chest. That temperature is going to interrupt that fight or flight. It's going to give you kind of like the, oh, okay, I can go handle the rest of my work day.
Because if you're getting like anxious, you get hot, you get flushed, all of those things. Got it. Okay.
If we're going into shutdown mode, we want the opposite. We want heat.
What's shutdown mode feel like?
Shutdown mode feels like you're being buried underneath 10,000 pounds of sand. Everything's so heavy. You just want to lay there and close your eyes. You don't want to participate. You want to escape.
Got it.
And a lot of times that's when we're going for our comfort. We're going for our comfort zone. A lot of people will escape to their bedroom or go for snacks. Escape. We want the shutdown. I can't do this. I can't handle anything today. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to hide. And that's when we want the warm. And so a lot of times we'll have patients get some of like the rice bags or the wheat bags, and they've got the little handheld ones, which are perfect for kids because we can go throw it in a microwave for a couple minutes and just have that little heat. Or I talk to my patients about that warm fuzzy feeling. You don't necessarily think about that as heat, but when you think of a warm fuzzy feeling, a lot of people associate that with like the heat, like a nice warm wrap hugging you. And so I talk to my kiddos and my patients about, think about a memory that brings that warm fuzzy feeling in.
Okay.
And then feel that and feel where that is in your body. And when we start wanting to shut down, when we start wanting to escape, think about that warm and fuzzy feeling. A lot of times that's going to bring that feeling of warmth to the body and help us fight that shutdown mode.
So at the end of the day, when I'm going to have agreed to go to an event in the evening and I don't want to go, should I use that trick or is that something different?
Well, it depends on if you're going into fight or flight. Like you don't want to go because you're anxious or you don't want to go because you're tired. And that may be 2 totally different things.
Yeah, you're right. That's fair.
Yeah.
So as a parent, what are some things that I should look for as maybe warning signs that my child might need a little help?
Yeah. Are they overreacting to things that they didn't used to overreact to?
Okay.
Are they more emotional? And that's a tough question too, because we got to think about puberty. Like all of our kids are going to be more emotional during puberty.
Sure.
All of our kids may shut down during times of puberty, or get a little bit more overreactive or stressed. but are you not seeing the in-betweens anymore? And what I mean by the in-betweens is once those situational, when the test is over, are you guys still having several weeks of what you see as your kid? Is that your kid in front of you during those couple of weeks? The happiness, the go-luckiness, the joking, the just the normal things. Or during the in-between, are they still shutting down? Are they still overreacting? Are they still not able to handle changes as well as they used to? The anxiety, are they getting scared? Are they fearful? Especially in our little kids, we look for stomach aches a lot. People don't associate the anxiety with the stomach aches, but we'll have kindergartners and first graders that have a lot of stomach aches, and they think, oh, there's something
really
wrong medically. Well, we still want to check out if there's anything wrong medically, but a lot of times it's that anxiety that's coming out in those littles. And so it's just all those different things. Really, I tell my parents to listen to their gut.
Yeah.
If they think that there's something wrong,
get it checked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've given so many great tips. I did not know about the cold trick, so that's really cool. So next time I see Steve in the bathroom with a cold pack on his neck, I'll know that I'll know what's going on and just give him a little time. But those are some really great tips. Now, when we walked in here, there was a machine that we saw that looks kind of gnarly. I'd love to learn more. So you do more than just, or maybe you augment the work that you do. Maybe you can talk to us more about that and what that means. So tell us what the machinery that you have here is.
Yeah, of course.
And how that supports the overall wellness that you're providing here.
Yeah, so with Elevate Wellness Institute, we are bringing in those answers that we felt were lacking in mental health, in our care. And so one of those is that All Core 360. That's what you saw when we walked in. I found that many, many years ago, right when they were first coming out on the market. I was searching for something for my women that had sexual trauma. A lot of times people that have sexual trauma, they don't want to go see that pelvic floor therapist because some of those exercises may re-trigger trauma.
Sure.
Not that the work with the physical therapist isn't important, it is, but some patients are very resistant to that idea. And in my search of how do I help, came the All Core 360. And so what that does is it puts you in the machine and you sit there. I mean, you're literally just sitting there. You're holding that posture. It leans you back a little bit and then it rotates you 360 degrees very slowly. We do 10 rotations in 10 minutes.
Okay.
And what that does is it, within 4 to 6 rides, we work on the proprioception, which is your body's ability to maintain itself in space. So when we think about people that are running through, hitting the doorways, hitting our hips on the side of the table, maybe getting dizzy in some situations, that improves within 4 to 6 rides. And then 4 to 6 weeks, we start evening our sides. So everybody has a weaker side. We want to strengthen that side and make your body work the way it's supposed to. It's really, really good for kids with cerebral palsy. It's good for patients with multiple sclerosis. It's good for traumatic brain injury patients.
Oh, wow.
People with paralysis, or elderly with balance issues, or people with like autoimmune disorders that can't do the high intensity workout. We can work out all 50 core muscles in 10 minutes. So there's muscles that exercise don't get to. I mean, think about your swallowing muscles, your breathing muscles. You're not going to be able to pump the iron to improve those muscles, but this machine improves all 50 of them in 10 minutes.
So can you just do that? Can you come in and just do that machine, or how does that work?
For a lot of people, that may be able, or that may be the only thing they can do.
Okay.
But then once we start improving those core muscles, then they realize, hey, I can get down on the ground now.
Yeah.
I can get up a lot easier.
Yeah.
And pretty soon their movement becomes much better in all aspects, without them having to feel like they can't get down and do those burpees, or they can't get down and do, a lot of those. Yeah. And so it's a starting point, but a lot of people, especially athletes, will use it to improve that muscle brain connection, that neuromuscular, the muscle memory. We can do so many things with this machine. It's just unbelievable. The pelvic floor, we are able to get in there and improve that pelvic floor area.
So all the moms are paying attention now to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, those symptoms that we have after we've had a couple of kids. we can improve that.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
In 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So a good place to start in case you're not ready for like maybe the mesh or whatever. You might want to try it just to see if that is something that can help. So you had a couple of other machines too. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we brought in 2 body contouring machines, and while you wouldn't think that that's necessarily mental health, I did get there via mental health.
Okay.
A lot of our women and men hold a lot of their stress in their fascia.
Okay.
And we start having a lot of pain and tightness, and we start losing our movement.
So tell us what fascia is for those that maybe don't know.
Fascia is that layer underneath the skin.
Okay.
It's where if you rub on your skin and you've got a lot of gravel underneath your skin, you know, that's that fascia. It's what kind of holds everything together.
Okay.
And so these body contouring machines were the first people in the state to have them. They're from Italy. They combine 4 treatments that you would get on 4 other machines all into one.
Okay.
And so we can improve the skin. We can improve the elasticity, the tightness. We can improve the fascia. We can actually increase muscle tissue and decrease fat tissue. We can do all those body sculpting, but we can do more with that. We can do facials. We can do cryotherapy. We can do drain protocols where we can assist your lymphatic system in getting rid of some of the stuff that we hold on to. We can improve soreness and muscle tension. And
so for those that think body contouring is a bunch of hooey or baloney, how would you respond to that?
Well, I think it's about getting that education out there about what the machine does. Because
Okay.
people think about body contouring, and the first thing they think about is, just getting that magazine-ready body.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily, what it is. Maybe for some people.
It's not a shake weight. Remember those? The
Right.
shake weights or the belts that would
Right.
move.
But maybe it's about, you've got an area that you're really self-conscious about.
Yeah.
And if we can improve that, then think about what else we're improving.
Sure.
And so it all is tied together.
Yeah.
And we can't feel guilty about doing that self-care.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's just even taking the time to say, like, I'm going to try this just to see if it helps me feel better, giving yourself a little leeway to give back to yourself.
Yeah.
And like you said, the brain and body are connected, but they're not separate. Your brain's an organ, right?
Right.
So just thinking about, like, how can we maybe be a little kinder to ourselves might even just be worth that time. Yeah.
That's kind of where we brought the neurofeedback in.
Okay.
The neurofeedback is a 10 to 20 minute treatment. It is often compared to taking like a weekly chill pill. It really helps decrease that automated fight or flight. When you go into fight or flight like an instant. This kind of helps you be able to respond to stress a little bit better.
Okay.
It's also really good for ADHD and trauma and PTSD and depression, anxiety. It's good for all the things, but we're also one of the first people in the state to have this modality of neurofeedback. And it's not so involved. So I can have a patient come in and as long as they don't fall asleep, they can sit there for 10, 15 minutes with their eyes closed. Or if I have a kid, they can still play on their tablet while they're doing the neurofeedback.
Okay.
So it's not as maybe invasive as something else where they have to listen to a certain music or they have to participate with the video that's playing on the computer that a lot of people don't, you're going to get resistance. So we're really excited about that as well.
Well, it's so great to know that you're here and that there are alternatives for people here in town that maybe who have tried traditional methods and things aren't working, or they don't want to wait for 6 months to see a special provider, because it might even be longer than that in some cases if you try the traditional route. So knowing that you're here, that you're rooted in science and you are a clinician, and you've got a whole suite of wellness services to support your mental health. It's so great to know that you're here and you can get in a week, which is amazing.
It's great.
So thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can we find your business if we're looking for Elevate Wellness and Elevate Psychiatry?
Elevate Mind Psychiatry.
Elevate Mind Psychiatry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So we've got a website for both. We've got the Elevate Mind Psychiatry. We've got the Elevate Wellness Institute website up and running. You can give us a call. With the Elevate Minds, you can actually book your appointment right online. You can fill out all your intake forms. We try to make it as easy as possible. Okay. I know sometimes we do things at 2 o'clock in the morning, so we want to be able to respond to that as well. And you can give us a call. You can always come in and talk to us. We are here.
All right, and we will link all of that below. So if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to check the notes below in the description because we'll have the link right to Veronica's page. And thank you for watching. Please subscribe. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.